The evaluation of an offeror's past performance, including the agency's determination of the relevance of an offeror's performance history and the weight to be assigned to a subcontractor's past performance, is a matter of agency discretion, which we will not find improper unless it is inconsistent with the solicitation's evaluation criteria. The evaluation of past performance, by its very nature, is subjective, and we will not substitute our judgment for reasonably based evaluation ratings. An offeror's disagreement with an agency's evaluation judgments does not demonstrate that those judgments are unreasonable. Here, we have no basis to question the agency's evaluation of VNT's past performance. VNT identified in its proposal 5 past performance references, 3 that stemmed from its own performance and 2 from its proposed subcontractor. With respect to its 3 projects, one involving safety attendants at schools was reasonably deemed not relevant. The other 2 projects involving ambulance services were considered relevant. Only one past performance questionnaire, PPQ, was returned for VNT's projects, which was for its performance on the predecessor contract to transport patients for the SAVOX. In the PPQ, the contracting officer documented numerous concerns with respect to VNT's performance. He highlighted problems with the effectiveness of VNT's management, including several turnovers at the manager position and the failure to pay subcontractors on time. He described VNT's quality as satisfactory, and noted that an 80-year-old patient was injured because VNT had not followed procedures. Other concerns focused on timeliness, quality control, and overall customer satisfaction, which was merely satisfactory. In addition, the contracting officer pointed to a fine imposed by the Department of Labor due to VNT's failure to pay its employees in accord with the Service Contract Act. In the end, he explained that VNT does not understand working with the federal government and the laws and regulations that go along with that, and has no concept of how to conform to a contract's terms and conditions. The contracting officer wrote that he would not award the company another contract. The contracting officer also considered additional information obtained from procurement files and his personal knowledge, specifically regarding VNT's performance on the predecessor contract. The contracting officer discussed in detail VNT's failure to perform the services under the contract, which resulted in the VA terminating VNT's contract for cause in June 2017. The contracting officer documented numerous examples of problems the agency experienced during VNT's performance, including an injured patient, failure to report an accident, and failure to meet transportation timelines. According to the past performance record, VNT was given multiple letters of concern, a cure notice, and a show cause notice. Ultimately, VNT abruptly ceased performance, which resulted in numerous patients stranded at the hospital and up to 100 patients per day in jeopardy of missing their scheduled appointments. Hence, the contract was terminated for default. The agency also took into account the past performance record of VNT's proposed subcontractor. While the subcontractor's record showed generally positive past performance, the agency nevertheless assigned little weight to the subcontractor's past performance. In this regard, the contracting officer explained that VNT failed to describe in its proposal the percentage of services that the subcontractor would provide. In addition, the contracting officer noted that VNT previously failed to timely pay its subcontractors, raising a question of how long the proposed subcontractor might actually perform work on this contract. Based on the totality of the past performance record, including the consideration of somewhat positive peers information, the contracting officer concluded that there was a low expectation that the offeror will successfully perform the required effort. Here, in light of the record described above, we have no basis to question the agency's limited confidence in VNT's performance. In addition, contrary to VNT's suggestions otherwise, the agency was under no obligation to afford greater weight to the subcontractor's performance record. In this respect, the significance of, and the weight to be assigned to, a subcontractor's past performance is a matter of contracting agency discretion. Given that VNT failed to disclose what percentage of the effort its proposed subcontractor was to perform, the agency's consideration of VNT subcontractor's performance record here is unobjectionable. Moreover, we see nothing improper with the contracting officer's consideration of VNT's poor performance on the predecessor effort. In this respect, as discussed above, the RFP expressly provided that the agency could consider other relevant information. Indeed, the agency may have had an obligation to take this information into account, given that the poor performance was on a contract for the same services for the same geographic location with the same contracting office. Lastly, and equally unavailing, is VNT's dubious assertion that the firm's past performance rating is the result of agency bias, which, according to VNT, is substantiated by the comprehensiveness of the documentation in the record. As we recently explained to VNT, government officials are presumed to act in good faith, and a protester's contention that contracting officials are motivated by bias or bad faith must be supported by convincing proof. We will not attribute unfair or prejudicial motives to procurement officials on the basis of inference or supposition. Here, the record is devoid of any support for VNT's bias claim. Indeed, rather than agency bias, VNT's poor performance on the incumbent effort is what led to its less than favorable past performance assessment.